And we're checking out a skate that I skated back in 2015 again, the 1998 Roces Burgundy and Black. Some would say the Cadillac of old aggressive skates. I never got to skate these back in the day when they came out. They were $279 retail, which would probably equate to like $600 nowadays, and with inflation. For a guy like me, they were absolutely impossible to attain. But I would always look at them in the Team Paradise catalog, and I would wish that I can get them or even look at them in person, because for the most part, I didn't see them in my area. Flash forward to 2014, Kilgore actually had a pair of these that he had sitting around for a long time, and I just pestered and bugged him until he finally let me try them. And to be honest with you, these are a size 8-9. I had no business ever putting my foot in here, and no business of them ever even fitting them. And the fact that I made it work and was able to actually skate them for multiple months is, to me, a feat of its own. But I can put all that thanks in the truss liners, because without that and without being able to like squeeze my foot in there, that would have never happened. And I'm still sad they are gone. Huge reason why this skate is so successful is back in the day they came stock with Senate wheels, and they came stock with this amazing liner with a leather top. Also grind plates, which I remember when I first got them, I also posted on them like online how I was skating the fifth element. Somebody hooked me up with these CDS Controits. Shout out Ben, you're a great guy. But yeah, I initially like just wanted to kind of like, the whole reason me going back and skating is like, A, it was me acquiring them, and B, this was like right after SSM had ended, so I was like kind of in an influx on like what I wanted to skate, and I like didn't want to really go back to Colts. I didn't really want to skate the Valos at the time, and then I just like kind of wanted the challenge of like, you know, could I make this old skate work with today's skating? Because you always look back in the day and like people were kind of limited on tricks, and I always felt like, was it the skates or not? And so I kind of wanted to like challenge myself to see if I could do some of my tricks in these skates. And I think I was able to achieve that for the most part. So I think it was like more so of like this skate for the guys back in the day. They were like more for the guys that like really didn't have the skill or like maybe the body control or maybe the power in their bodies, because they were all kids pretty much for the most part. So for me, what really stands apart for this from everything else is the fact that it has a one-piece sole and frame. And I really wondered like how that would feel, especially at grinding and feeling your grinds and top sides, etc., etc. And I felt like this was one of the most stable, responsive, like grinding skates, and even just like carving and cutting. And like I felt like I had complete control because it was like one stable feeling. And especially with top sides, because you know how nowadays you kind of have a frame and a sole plate with the UFS system, but they have like, in a way's ability to bend more than they should, so to kind of like giving that give. Whereas this was so stiff and rigid that if you didn't put that foot down, it wasn't happening. There was no extra bend at all. So in a way, your grinds felt like way more solid, and you had a lot more control over them, I felt like. And as you can see, I went really deep into the Royale groove. I went all the way into the boot. I was really putting work in the front torques on these. Like I felt like they were really good for front torques. And believe it or not, this groove, like, if it could be improved upon today, where you can just like add a couple elements that are into like what frames are made today, where they're just a little bit wider, maybe a little bit wheel protection, but these frames were completely fine. They were low profile. The fact that they had the square bolts in 1998 for where you only needed one Allen key was absolutely fantastic for the time. As you can see, I needed to mix and match to get mine to work, but they worked. They're a very light skate, especially compared to like my thems that I have now. Like these things are like nothing. And I was just absolutely surprised. Like I went into it like kind of like a joke. Like I'm gonna like skate these for like a parody. Like here's a guy, the old man in the fifth element's trying to keep it going. But like the more I skated them, the more I was like, yo, these are actually like not a bad skate at all. Like the cuffs felt really good. As you can see, I broke the buckle, and that was the enemy for this. A little bolt fell out. As you know, the sole plate is like, it's a lot smaller than your normal sole plate, and this is actually like less wide than it is up here, which is kind of weird at first. Like I said, when they re-released the fifth element, I was excited because they really had a chance to, you know, just take this idea and just make the sole plate a little bit better, make the frame a little bit better. Maybe I probably would have left this cuff, because this cuff was great, maybe a little bit softer. But the fact that they, you know, decided that they wanted to just go to UFS route, slap a crappy sole plate on there and a flat bottom, I thought was like the laziest way possible. And I haven't tried them. I have absolutely no interest in trying them because I just know how it's going to feel. It's going to feel like every other Majestic or Valo V13 since then. Maybe a little bit wider, and I don't know. I feel like they really dropped the ball with that one. They could have switched it up, and they just did the lazy route. But that's Roces. Another thing that really stood out from this to everything else was like, everything nowadays is so hard and so fast. And this had a nice balance of where it's like not a super hard plastic, but like the frame was like a bit slower than the sole frame, that felt like, especially with backslides. It felt like I could really control my backslide on like metal things. And even today I went out and tried these Kaiser frames, which have a similar groove to this 1998 groove, which I don't know why they did that, but that'll be another review. And I just felt like I couldn't feel anything on my grinds. And maybe that's like a factor where it's like, it's one piece and you can really feel everything, but I felt like you just had so much more control of these. They look really skinny on your foot, and maybe that's because I was running a size 8-9 and I'm an ogre. So I feel like we could learn a lot from this, especially like if you're a skate company and you really want to switch it up. I feel like the need for a switch of a UFS frame, maybe some people are really into like the ability to switch your frames over and over, but I would rather have a skate where the frame was built for the sole frame and they all worked as one unit. And for the most part, if I'm switching my sole frame, I'm probably switching my frame. So I don't find an interest of why you would need to switch one or the other, unless of course you just need something different completely. But future skate companies, if you could figure out a way, boom boom, if you can even make it a completely one piece. I know the Aeon has tried. When I tried the Aeon on, they felt like, I mean, again, this is going back to my slow plastic where I won slow plastic. They felt too slow. Like, it felt like they have to have a mix of where it's enough to where it feels good on your foot and enough to where it slides good enough. And the ones I tried, I skated them for like 5 minutes and I tried a Royale and I did not like how they felt. I like the idea. I like where they have tried to go on with it, but I feel like there's still a little bit that needs to be worked out in that aspect. But again, I haven't fully skated them. But again, that was my instant thought on the Aeon. I didn't get to really fully test it in my size. I didn't get to fully like go around on it, so don't take it for what it's worth. I just feel like this idea worked a little better than what the Aeon for what I felt for initial reactions. When I put this on, I was like, wow, these are awesome. I skated them at a skate park, and that's what skated well the whole time, and I'm like, okay, I think you can do real tricks in these. It's definitely... I remember always seeing the skate in old skate videos and just wishing like I could ever get a hold of a pair of the red ones or even the white ones. And the only Roces I had skated before at this point was the Majestic 12. And I had skated like a size 13 like hand-me-down pair from like 1996 or 1997. And while they did work, I always like thought that like, wow, the fifth element has a way bigger sole plate, even though it's like, you know, micro inches of a difference. But I did notice like at first it was like a minor adjustment, like how small the sole plate was, and especially like it's not completely the same size and from the front and the back. So it was like a mild adjustment, especially on ledges and like holding grinds for a long time. And another element to that was like holding on after a while with the metal grinding into like actual ledges, because the frame only gave you so much protection from the bolts hitting. So after a while you were really grinding directly on the bolts, and like you would feel it and you would see sparks from time to time. So after a while you got used to it and you kind of like just understood like this is kind of like a back in the day skate where you're going to like force your grinds through stuff no matter what. Like, don't expect it to slide perfectly like a normal plastic would. But it also like felt like a sense of validation because like you were really grinding. It wasn't just like you're taking the plastic and letting you slide. You can actually feel it. And in a way, it's kind of something you can't really get in a feeling of a skate today because of the sole plates being, you know, basically outside of the boot instead of like directly into the boot in a way. And I just think that's like a little note that we can take from the future. Obviously, it's not the perfect skate. There's definitely some changes you need to make. You would definitely want to change the bolts and the hardware. You would definitely want to make the H-block a little bit better material than it is now. Slightly out with the wideness and make maybe a little bit of wheel protection so you can protect the wheels. And maybe split the gap out a little bit. But the cool part about these is you can also rocker them in different positions. So you can like pop these out and put them in, in different position to, like, you know, if you want to rock her a couple wheels up and down, and that's something we don't even have in frames today, which is, you know, we're going backwards in technology where instead of forwards. But yeah, you can see just how the skate looks, especially from the top down. It just looks fascinating. It's a true rollerblade masterpiece in terms of, like, from where we were and to what we needed. And at this time, it was like, you know, we had the Majestic 12, we had a couple handfuls of K2s, but then this one was like oh baby, I need that. So I was happy to be able to skate it in 2015. I skated them for about 7 months until I completely busted the buckle up. I was happy to get a bunch of clips for Dyno in it. I've showed some throughout this whole review to show, like, me skating the skate, like, showing that I actually, like, didn't just skate them for 4 times and, you know, say that they're the best skate ever made. But other than the NIM, I would say, like, especially coming from the NIM, this was a complete different experience. The plastic shell, like I said, if they upgrade it, it'd be better. Side note, I can also say, like, what a difference these grind plates made when I put them on when I was first started skating them. I remember I put them on at the X Park in Philadelphia, and the first thing I did was a UFO set slide down, like, the ramp, and I remember I was just absolutely flying. So this is also a lost art, I feel like. I know frame walls are a little too thick nowadays, we really wouldn't use them, but man, these grind plates, skating with them made skating so much more fun, especially on grinding ledges and everything. They actually made a difference, and if we could figure out a way, I know it's complete nonsense, if you could figure out a way to make these work again to where it could be, like, protecting your frame and, like, you know, I don't know how it will work, but man, these, I remember, these made a difference. These were so sick. And CDS Detroit, classic product. And this also, I never got to skate this back in the day, so the amount of joy I got from these, like, this is one of the things, like, this is like when you're skating, you're having a good time with these because it just makes you feel like you're a child again. And these just felt really, really good. And I can also, like, vouch for them. Like, when I broke these, I got another pair of black Fifth Elements. I guess it was, like, the year later release. And I say they did not feel anything close to what these felt like. I know they slightly changed them a little bit, but man, this skate is a one of one. Roces, if you're ever watching this, you should really reconsider redesigning the Fifth Element into something like this, but a little bit better. This was fantastic. If you agree with me that this is one of your favorite skates of all time, if you skated a version of the Fifth Element and you can have a little say on what you felt about them, if you liked them, if you didn't, or if you never got to try them, you know, leave a comment, subscribe. I will be doing a review on the Kaiser frames next. But until next time, it's getting cold out here, so please get your skating on. Unless you're in a warm area, then it's lucky to be you. Thanks for watching.